A very pleasant good afternoon to all of our viewers. Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk. I am delighted to join you today. I am Dr. Carson Greene, and today we are going to be responding to some questions we have had that we were not able to respond to over the last few weeks. We have been talking with Dr. Douglas Street, who has given us a wealth of information regarding inflammation and wellness and how that impacts us. So I have decided that today I would take the time to look at some of the questions that you, our viewers, have been asking, and we will have Dr. Street respond to them. Bow your heads with me as we begin. Father, we pray for your wisdom, your grace, and your guidance. We ask that you will be with us as we discuss this important subject, as we respond to the many questions that some of our viewers have asked. We pray that you will be with our guest and grant him clarity so that as he responds to the questions, the information can prove productive, transformational, that we can not just hear, but apply to our lives. Take full control, we ask in your precious name. Amen. So friends, we are talking this afternoon with Dr. Douglas Street. He is a medical doctor and a wellness advocate. He has been sharing with us over the last 3 weeks on issues relating to wellness, to inflammation. And I want today, as we prepare to answer these questions, Dr. Street, to ask you to begin by just giving us a summary of some of the things we have shared over the last 3 weeks.
Thank you, Dr. Carson. And I just want to say thank you to the viewers who have watched the program and have put in their questions. And it's a great pleasure for me to respond to the questions that have been put forward. Now, the reason why it's important to address this issue of wellness is that there are many reasons. One, it kind of gives us the opportunity to take part in our health. Wellness practices are you could say, somewhat self-help interventions. There are things that you do that can help yourself. They cost less than medications, of course. They help your body to heal rather than just to cover up a problem that you're having. And healing is something which is inherently programmed into our system. It's just that oftentimes, because of our diet and lifestyle and other factors, environmental and so on, this ability is curtailed. Taking on these wellness practices actually helps to release these healing mechanisms in the body so the body can repair itself and experience better health. Now, one of the great hindrances to healing and wellness is inflammation. And inflammation is a reaction of the immune system, and it reacts to many different things, including our diet. And this is an important aspect of nutrition, that your body reacts to the foods that you eat. And when it reacts too much, then this reaction can be detrimental. But our bodies react in many different ways to different things, our immune system in particular. And that reaction is what we call inflammation, specifically our immune system. And that reaction is to help to protect the body. It helps to get rid of certain threats. But over time, if it is continued, it can cause damage to your body. And of course, this can affect your health. So it's important to know the things that will reduce inflammation inside the body and the things that will increase it, because depending on the balance of those practices that you have in your life, you may or you may not experience illness or wellness.
Now, Doc, I read your book, very informative indeed, and since I have interviewed you, I have done quite a bit of research in this area of inflammation. It really is quite eye-opening. One of the things I noted is that there are lots of very educated scientific minds that have so much to say in this area of especially the gut biome and inflammation and the impact on various things. So you have really, for me personally, started a journey that was quite revealing in some of the discoveries that I have made. I did not know, I wasn't aware, I probably was of the perspective that, a lot of people talking about inflammation, people who are
Fringe
not,
persons.
sorry, say that again.
Fringe persons, fringe.
Yes, but I
Yeah.
have discovered that this is an area where lots of university professors and others have made significant breakthroughs, and all of the information I've come across are very scientifically sound, well researched, well documented. And so I want to personally thank you for what you have started in my life. That is very important. So we do have a number of questions, and that's what we came to do this afternoon. So I'm going to go into asking some of these questions. Now, I have pulled questions from the 3 weeks of broadcasts that we have had, so they're not necessarily in order of the sequence that is. So I'll just go ahead and ask you. Some of them we may have answered along the way, but they say repetition deepens impression. So I remember maybe during the first week, I can't remember exactly when, but we did speak to the dangers of oils, that is heating oils. And so this person is asking, it is said that one should not fry with olive oil because it can become carcinogenic. Is it true? The person is asking, is it true that if you fry with olive oil, it can become carcinogenic?
I guess the simple answer to that is yes, it can, because when you heat oil in the presence of air, which contains oxygen, it can form harmful compounds, and they have actually found that some of those compounds can be carcinogenic. So yes, that is possible. And it just reinforces what we had said is that if you're going to be cooking your oil, olive oil should not be the one that you use. There are other oils which are more stable, like canola oil. But generally speaking, it's best to try avoid frying, because you can't eliminate the risk totally. It's best to avoid frying.
Well, I don't know if it is cultural adaptation, but it does appear that when you fry things, they taste better.
Definitely.
So I can see a lot of people struggling with the concept of not frying.
Yes.
But you're saying that that's a dangerous practice.
It is potentially dangerous, and I mean it doesn't mean that I mean there's no time when you shouldn't do it any at all. I'm not gonna recommend that you do it, but I'm gonna say that it is unlikely that if you should fry something once a month, that is going to cause a problem. Oftentimes, what happens is that when your bodies react to something, it mops up the things after a while. So you don't have to totally abstain, but it's definitely something that you want to discourage. It's not something that you should be doing on a daily basis.
Very well. Now on the question of oils, and I remember the principle that you shared, that oil, an expensive oil like olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and you did say that extra virgin, the cold pressed version of the olive oil, is the preferred one, that it's a healthy oil if it is eaten, not heated. So I remember you saying we should eat our oils or good oils and not heat them. I think that will stick with me forever. I like that. Eat it, not heat it. But you did say that canola is a stable oil. There are a couple of questions. I mean, a few questions here on oil. So I remember somebody had asked one about canola oil, and I believe you did respond to that, but I'm going to ask it again. Because the question is, what is canola oil made from? So maybe you can go ahead and respond to that one.
Right. So canola oil comes from a nut called rapeseed, and you can understand why that name is not used.
Rape seed.
Rapeseed.
Oh,
Rapeseed. So it's not a very attractive name. So so the word canola actually comes from Canada oil. That's where it comes from. Canola oil, Canada oil, canola. So it's really because of the country where it comes from. That's also it is named.
okay, very well. I can see that, you know. People may shorten rapeseed to rape. That doesn't have good connotations at all.
Right.
Yeah, certainly. Well, somebody's asking about another kind of oil, this time not rapeseed, but grapeseed. What about grapeseed oil?
Grapeseed oil is a pretty new nutritious oil, but again, not for cooking. It is for eating. It's a good antioxidant and can help with many different conditions. But you certainly wouldn't want to be cooking with it. You can add it to your food, just as what we had mentioned about the other oils, but you not want to be cooking it.
And when you say add to your food, like as in the case with the extra virgin olive oil or the virgin coconut oil, you're talking about like sprinkle it on salads and that kind of stuff.
Anything that you're eating, you can put it on the bread. You can spread it as a replacement for margarine or butter. You can
Okay.
put it on your proteins. For example, you prepare, because how I normally do it, I put it on my protein. I'm vegan, so I'll add it to my peas and stuff after I finish cooking it.
Okay.
But you can put it on anything. You can put it on your carbohydrates. You can put it on vegetables. Doesn't really matter. As a matter of fact. This may sound strange to some person, but I actually add it to my cereal. So if I make some porridge, I'll put it in my porridge as well.
Interesting.
Right, because
I've never tried that one.
you can do that as well. The reason why I do it is because it adds calorie content, dense, makes it more dense. It also helps you to feel full for a longer time. When I don't do it, I get hungry very quickly, and you're likely to want to eat before the next time you're supposed to be eating. So when you add it to your cereal, it make you feel more like you had a full meal. So it keeps you longer than if you didn't add it.
Very, very, very interesting. That is something I must try. Another question about oils. Black seed oil. I came across an article that said that this is good for fighting cancer. I don't know, but do you have any knowledge of black seed oil?
Flaxseed oil is an excellent oil, again, high in antioxidants, high in essential fatty acids, and it's very good to reduce inflammation. Very, very good to reduce inflammation. Highly recommended. It can be used to treat almost any condition, whether arthritis, whether depression, because all those conditions are linked to inflammation. So black seed oil is an oil that is an oil that I recommend quite a bit. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to find because there's a high demand for it, but it's an excellent oil to use.
Now, with these oils, is storage important? Because
Mhm.
we sometimes live in a climate that is very hot. So how do we store our oils effectively?
Well, it's best to keep it cool because, of course, the higher the temperature is of these oils, the more likely it is for it to break down and to form harmful compounds. And sometimes, if possible, you keep it in a dark place as well because light also can trigger a reaction. So it's generally best to keep them in a dark, cool place so as to preserve the nutritional properties.
Okay, I'm with you there. Would you recommend refrigerating them, or would that cause them to?
Refrigeration, that is okay. That is fine.
uh,
That's not a problem. Inside the fridge is cool and it's dark, so refrigeration is okay. It's just that it's going to make it thicker. So but from in terms of health, it would probably help it to preserve longer when you
Okay.
when you store it in the fridge.
Now, another person here is saying, blessings from above, doctor and doctor, can you discuss about, is this sciatica pain?
That is a sciatic pain. All right. No, sciatica is a pain which comes from the spine. So in your spine, you have the vertebrae, and they are stacked on top of one another with a cushion of cartilage called a disc between each cartilage. And so it is designed in a way to allow you to support your spinal cord, and also to allow you to turn, to twist, to bend, and so on. Now, the spinal cord runs along along it as well, and the nerves from the spinal cord, they come out through some passages in the spinal column. But where they exit the spinal column is very close to the discs. And so sometimes what happens is you may get an injury, for example, a motor vehicle accident or a fall. It causes the disc to get squashed. As it gets squashed, just like a dough, when you squash dough between your hands, it spreads out. And as it spreads out, it can come in contact with the nerve roots that lead from your spinal cord. When you get that contact and sometimes pressure, it interferes with the nerves that are in that nerve root. And then you may get various symptoms. For example, it may stimulate the pain fibers in that nerve. But what you feel is you may feel pain where the nerve goes to. So, for example, if it is a nerve that the nerves that are on the outside of the nerve root are the ones that are going the furthest. So, for example, the ones that are on the outside will go to your toe. So that's the one that you might get more symptoms from. Sorry, rather, no, it goes to the ones that are closer. And the ones that are inside are the ones that go the furthest. So therefore, you may start to get some pains closer to where the nerves are. So the ones on the outside go to the ones that are closer. For example, the muscles or the closer areas on your upper limb. As the pressure penetrates more, you may feel it more distally, further from your pelvis, and it may eventually reach down to your toe. So you may feel pain in that area because of the stimulation of the nerve. It also can interfere with the sensory nerves. Sensory nerves bring back information to your brain about what is happening. So it will cause numbness in that sense then, right? So you get a lot of sensation in the area that's being affected. And then it may also stimulate your motor nerves, which are responsible for your muscle contraction. And when you have that, it can cause spasm of the muscles, and that can also cause some amount of pain. So you have different types of pain from the same process because of the different nerves that are involved. It can cause muscular spasm. It can cause stimulation of the pain nerves, and it may also cause numbness of the area that's being affected. And that is basically what they call sciatica. When it affects the nerve that goes on to your leg.
So I see two questions. One is about sciatic pain. The other one is about sciatica. Is it the same thing we're talking about?
Yes, it's the same thing.
Okay. All right. I was not familiar with that term, so that's new information for me. Another question here. This person is asking about, I remember in our discussion in one of our earlier interviews, you did point out that white bread is not the healthiest option, and you did say even whole wheat bread is not as healthy as some people think it is. So this individual is asking whether multigrain bread is a healthier option.
Okay. All right. I just want to take the liberty of speaking a little bit more about sciatica pain. Now, there are some persons who may need to get a surgical intervention for that because it may be so severe. And what the surgery usually involves is to remove the pressure of the nerve. And sometimes they may stabilize the spine by fusing it in order to ease the pain. But there's an aspect of the treatment which oftentimes is not really addressed, which is there's oftentimes an inflammatory component to this pain as well. So there are times when you may do a scan of the area, and you may not see any pressure on the nerve, but the person is having the pain. Sometimes that area of the nerve is inflamed, which is why sometimes you may use a steroid injection to inject in the area, and that oftentimes gives relief for the pain because there's an inflammatory component. So it's important to address the inflammatory component of this pain, which is, what we're talking about, this whole inflammation. So managing the inflammation is an important part of managing that pain. There are many medications that are used to ease the pain, and we're not going to go into that too much. But it's best to get treatment for the pain and also to treat the inflammation to control the problem. Now, with multigrain bread,
before you go to multigrain bread, I just had a follow-up question. How different is that to a person having a slip disc or something to that effect?
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yes, it's a different term for the same condition.
Oh, okay. I'm with you. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, multigrain bread now.
Right. So multigrain bread is, as the name suggests, a bread that is made up from different grains. Of course, how healthy it is depends on what grains are in it, and of course the different proponents. What you use, how much you use of each one. But it generally is healthier than whole wheat bread because it does contain usually healthier grains than wheat. So it kind of dilutes the negative effect of the wheat and adds on to the antioxidant properties. And now the thing about wheat is that it contains gluten, and the good thing about gluten is that it holds things together. It holds bread together. And as a matter of fact, what they do sometimes with some bread, with some even whole wheat bread, is that they add gluten to it to hold it together. It makes it feel nice and soft. That nice feeling that you have, sliced bread is nice and right. So it gives that kind of sensation. Feels very nice and soft, easy, nice in the mouth and all that, nice smooth feeling in the mouth. But the problem with gluten is that it triggers inflammation in your colon. And that inflammation, of course, can spread throughout your body and cause problems. So that is the reason why, that is one of the reasons why whole wheat bread is not really healthy, because of the gluten content that it has. So again, depending on what you add to the multigrain bread to hold it together, it may not be very healthy, because some person may want to use the gluten to hold it together, which is kind of counterproductive. It makes it have a nice consistency, but it takes away from the healthy, from the benefits that it has. If you want something to hold your bread together, there are other options. For example, flaxseed, grounded flaxseed, chia seed also. These are healthy options in terms of holding bread together and can add nutritional value to the bread that you're having. So basically, it depends on what are the components that are used. That will determine how healthy it is. But it generally is healthier than whole wheat bread.
But I see psyllium husk, for example, being advocated. Is that a healthy option?
Well, I don't know if it being an option in terms of replacing the
gluten.
Right. In terms of replacing the flaxseed. Psyllium is a good source of insoluble fiber. So it can help to increase the fiber content of it. But I don't know of it being as good as in terms of holding together, because that is really the challenge with those types of breads, with the multigrain breads, holding the bread together so it doesn't, like when you're making a sandwich, it's breaking apart, you know? So you don't really want that. So you want to add things to it to hold it together, but things that are healthy.
Now, just for clarity, because in one of our past interviews, you identified soluble and insoluble fiber.
Right.
And you did say that um, it is important, maybe both are important, but one directly impacts the rate of digestion. Which is which?
All right. So soluble fiber is I would say the healthier one. The insoluble one is also important. They both help to reduce the absorption of nutrients, but in different ways, right? The soluble fiber helps to hold on to the nutrients. It kind of binds to the food, so to speak, and helps to slow down the absorption based on that action. That it's kind of like a magnet then. But the soluble fiber, I believe how the soluble fiber works is that in order for food to be absorbed into the system, it has to come into contact with the surface of the intestines, right? With the different surfaces that the intestines has. When you have more bulk, that is going to reduce the opportunity because, of course, there is going to be less
Surface area to volume
interaction,
ratio.
right, with the lining of the intestine. So therefore, there's less opportunity for the nutrients to be absorbed. So they both help, but they help in different ways. The soluble fiber helps also in serving as food for the healthy intestinal bacteria. And that's an additional benefit that they have. So that can help to also reduce inflammation inside the body. So it does have additional benefits more than what the soluble fiber, but both of them are actually important.
Now, in some of my personal research, I came across an experiment that one professor was doing, where she served oats for breakfast, and she was illustrating the difference in terms of the refining process and how it impacts the absorption and that kind of stuff. And so she had her guests eat just the instant oats. She ate the same instant oats, but she placed things like flax seeds and chia and pumpkin seed. And it was interesting that the presence of the flax and the chia and the pumpkin seed, etc., did create a significant difference. So my question here is, if a person is baking, and this is for your counsel, and they may say, listen, white flour is so good at binding things together. Can I just use a little white flour and put in some flaxseed and some chia seed, etc., and balance out?
That's an excellent question. I guess the question is it okay to add a little poison to your food? Certainly by diluting, harmful things, it makes it healthier, but it doesn't really make it healthy. So it's best to try and avoid it. I said, if you want something to hold it together, there are better options. And if it is that for example, if you're going to make, some dumplings, also Jamaicans, we love our dumplings. And let us say you don't have an option at the time. You can add soft tools to make it better. But if you have a better option, go for the better option. It's always best to do the best that you can. Right? With the best that you can.
All right. You responded to half of this question already, because this individual is saying that they were sick with back pain and now they just found out that they had the sciatica pain and also arthritis. and the person says that their job requires them to be on their feet for a long time, and they were asking if you can give some highlights on it. I suppose what they want to know is what do you recommend for relief?
Okay, so that's a big discussion. There are medications that you can use. The person will really have to get a proper assessment because it's not all the same treatment. The treatment depends on how severe it is. There are some persons who will be okay with just using medications. There are some persons who may need surgical intervention. There are other treatments that involve things like massage. You may also do physiotherapy. Some persons will respond well to chiropractic treatments. Also, exercise might help because exercise helps to reduce inflammation and can give you and strengthen the muscles of the back that support the spine. Also have to look at the things that you're doing, making sure that you're not doing anything to make the problem worse. Ensure that you're eating properly, getting the inflammation down. Make sure that your bed is supportive. Make sure that your posture is supportive, and making sure that you reduce inflammation using supplements that reduce inflammation, and also making sure that you're basically avoiding chemicals as much as possible. So it's a holistic approach. It's not just any one thing. It's always best to try to, reduce things that trigger inflammation, reduce things that would put more pressure on your spine, and increase those things that reduce inflammation and are helpful.
Very well indeed. Now, I want to shift to something else here. There is considerable talk about the use of microwave ovens. There's some individuals who say they would never get a microwave oven. This question is simply, can you offer any counsel on whether or not microwaving your food is good or bad? Does it affect you? I think this is about radiation and its impact on you, and does it have any relationship to inflammation?
Okay. All right. So first of all, let us understand what microwaves are. Microwaves are part of the what we call the electromagnetic spectrum. These are the light, basically. So sunlight contains microwaves, right? Sunlight contains microwaves. Normally, when we use the term radiation, we have a negative, perception. But even the light that we use to see is radiation, right? So radiation is not necessarily something negative. There are positive and there are negative aspects to radiation, right? So not because something is irradiated means that you're doing harm to it. If you don't radiation, you couldn't see, right? X-ray radiation and gamma ray radiation, those are harmful types of radiation. And there are other types of radiation that are harmful, such as those that are produced by what we call radioactive substances like uranium and so on, right? Those are harmful. But microwaves is not seen as a harmful type of radiation. Microwaves is what your phone works on. It's what it's what the radio works by. They're all around us, and so you can't escape microwave radiation. I said even the very sun produces microwave radiation. So it's not something that is inherently harmful. Now, how microwaves cause your food to get warm, it causes the molecules in your food to vibrate. And it is that vibration and the friction generated by the vibration that produces heat. So if you really think about it, how is that going to harm you? It's not, right? It's so, especially water molecules, because water molecules are more mobile. So it causes the water molecules to vibrate in your food, just vibration, and that's what causes it to warm up. I have not seen over the years, and this is something that I've looked at several times. From a logical point of view, when you understand the physics of the process, it is hard for you to see how that is going to cause harm to your food or to you. And in terms of research, there has been no research that has demonstrated that food that is microwaved is harmful, to my knowledge and my own reading over the years. So as to whether I would recommend it, I don't have a reason not to recommend it. Up until this point, I have not seen any reason. So I would not tell a person that they should not use a microwave. If you heat your food, it can cause it harm in any way. I mean, there is no difference to warming your food on the stove and warming it in a microwave, to my knowledge, from my own reading.
Okay, because I know that there's a lot of discussion there. As I said, I've had people who said, that microwave, you need to stay away from it. You're going to get cancer and so on. So information floats around. But you're saying that from your personal scientific investigations, you have not seen anything to suggest otherwise. And when we take the principle of how it works, how the microwave works, I've also seen lots of information to say, listen, this is quite safe. Look at the principle. In fact, I've some people say that it's probably even better than using an oven. So it's interesting. And thank you for highlighting that for us. So I want to ask about another kind of heating. Because we spoke about frying, but now there are air fryers. So, is the air fryer safe? Is that a better option? This is now going to use, I suppose, air, right? So what's your take on that?
Yes. I was a little disappointed to find out that it is really not much better than other methods. Because again, heating your food can cause harmful compounds to be produced. So whether you heat it, by the air fryer or otherwise, they have actually done studies to compare, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference. The air fryer is not as healthy as most persons think. The process, the high heat that is generated, it can produce harmful substances, and that is not something that you're going to be able to avoid. So it's not really as good as most people think. And they've actually done studies too.
But except that, and I'm not making a statement, I'm asking, except that if you're frying, you're using the oil, which is an additional health risk. So I suppose if I compare it to deep frying, it may turn out a little better because of the oil effects. Am I correct?
The difference is that you're not getting the oil, right? You won't get the oil, but the effect on the food itself is not much different.
Okay.
So the difference would be there is no oil in it. There's no unhealthy oil in it. But the oil affects the food. So the oil is, when you fry something, it affects the food and it affects the oil. All right? So the effect on the food is still there, but there's no unhealthy oil that would have been added to it. So that would be the difference. But the health effects has not really been proven. And of course, over time, we may get some more information, but based on what I've seen so far, it's not really very encouraging.
Now that has led me to, well, should I say is leading, because this is active. Very quickly, I personally have adopted the practice of steaming vegetables as opposed to boiling them. But I know steam produces a lot of heat. So is that a good practice or not?
All right. So there are some nutrients that are in vegetables that that are that makes it easier for it to be extracted from the food when it is cooked, when it is heated. So I would say that it is best to have both raw and cooked vegetables, right? A classic example is tomato. There's vitamin C and so on that are in the tomato that are damaged by the heat. But the lycopene, when you cook tomato, the lycopene is more easily absorbed. So so you can get both. Broccoli has very good, antioxidants. So it's best to and some of those antioxidants, they may be damaged by the heating process. So even with broccoli as well, you should have some broccoli raw and some cooked. So it's not either or, it's both.
But okay, that's useful. That's useful. The tomato argument I did hear about that sometimes you do need to have some cooked because you get a better absorption, and sometimes you need to have it raw because of the vitamin C, etc., which the heat would destroy. What I was, however, asking is whether or not if I choose to boil as opposed to steam, I put it in a steamer basket and steam it, whether if you compare boiling, putting it in the water and having it boiled as opposed to steaming it, whether one has advantage over the other.
Well, the advantage of the steaming is that when you boil, vegetables, some of the nutrients are gonna leach out into the water.
Into the water.
So you might lose it there. But and certainly you should minimize the amount of heat that you use when you're heating your vegetables. So so the steam gives you the opportunity to have it exposed for a shorter time.
Okay.
So you may preserve more of the nutrients when you steam as opposed to boiling it.
Okay, wonderful. Now let me ask another question. You did say that it is better to get on nutrients from food in their natural states. The question here is, so let me read what the question is. I have to read it in its natural form. I believe you said that it is better to get nutrients from food in their natural states, but you also said that you would recommend some supplements. Are these not available in their natural forms? So I think that the question here is supplementation. And since you made the point that we should try to get our nutrients from in a natural form, whether it's not just best to avoid all supplementation and use the natural stuff.
Okay. All right. So so those are not really contradictory statements, because you do have foods that are available as supplements. For example, turmeric is a food which is available in a supplement form. So you're actually getting the food as a supplement. Ginger also is available, is a food which you can put in a capsule and give it as a supplement. Omega-3, all of those things. There are some supplements that are not available in food form any at all, right? And may not be a part of your food. So it may be available as a food somewhere else in the world, but it may not be available to you. So for example, we spoke about reishi mushroom. Reishi mushroom is not something that you can go out and pick in the forest. It actually is a food, and it's also used as a treatment. So because it's not available in your environment, in your surroundings, it is quite okay for you to get it otherwise. Coenzyme Q10 is not available in foods any at all, right? So and also and even something like probiotic, it's going to be difficult for you to to get all the probiotics that you would need in your food, or the food that might be available to you. So there are foods which contain probiotic bacteria, but they may not contain all of the other things that you need. So you may put things together that you may not normally get in one package per se. So getting nutrients from a food. Now, when some persons think of supplementation, they're thinking about vitamins and minerals, right? Vitamins and minerals you should get from your food. That's the best way. But supplementation goes beyond just vitamins and minerals. There are actually herbs that are available as supplements, and other food-based compounds that are available as supplements. So those are the ones that I recommend that you get as a supplement form, especially if it is not immediately available to you.
Now, if I had time, I would ask you about the probiotics. There's a debate about whether we shouldn't use more things like kimchi and the like, rather than the supplement form, and what is better. But we don't have time for that discussion right now. So I do want to, make sure that I get in all the questions that from the discussions you had the last time. How do vegans get omega-3 fatty acids? And it says here especially EPA and DHA. I suppose you will explain what the EPA and the DHA represent.
Okay, so EPA and DHA are different forms of omega-3 fatty acids, and you can get them as a supplement if you wish. I don't think there is any. If a vegan wants to use a purified form of fish oil, I don't think there's any problem with that per se. But you can get it from things like flaxseed. You can get it from chia seed. You can get it from things like nuts and so on. Those nuts, seeds, they contain small amounts of omega-3. So you can get it from those sources. The argument is that the DHA, which is the most active one, is not really available in large quantities in those sources, that your body has to convert. But your body can do that. I mean, it can do the conversion. So it may not be available to your body as quickly as with like a fish oil source, but it can actually do the conversion. You can still get it. Your body can still manufacture it from it.
I now hear of algae oil, which is now being recommended as a vegan option for the EPA and the DHA, because algae is rich in those.
Right.
That is something that you would recommend.
Yes, we can use
Okay.
algae.
So I'm vegan, so I have interest in that question myself, right? And there's another question that I think I can squeeze in here. This is from me now personally. It's just a thought I have, because biblically, man was created before sin. And before sin, man ate fruits, nuts, and grains, essentially. And to my knowledge, there were no vitamin B12 and those kinds of things. I know today we say we can't get vitamin B12 from plant sources. I am wondering, is it that with the loss of the tree of life, that was also a loss? Because we are advised, and I want to not give people the wrong impression. If you are vegan, you do need to take your vitamin B12 supplements. At least that is what I think, and that's what I'm advocating here. But what happened to man while he was in the Garden of Eden, or even after sin, before he was permitted to eat flesh? How did he get vitamin B12? That's a tough question. I don't know.
That's a tough question, and of course, it can only be speculative. there is, I just want to throw in something else into that equation. I remember listening to a discussion by a Christian, he said it was, who said that he believed in evolution, and his argument for it was that he found that the enzymes to create vitamin C is actually in man, but it is inactive, right? So he thought that loss of activity was as a result of evolution. That was his argument. But I would want to use that argument to say that sin actually caused a lot of changes. As to whether that was one of them, it's quite possible that it might have been one of the changes that occurred. And I believe also that those changes that occurred to man, they took place over time. And I would support that by looking at what happened after the flood. You notice that the lifespan of man cut significantly after the flood, and there must have been some genetic changes that would have allowed for that to happen, because the aging process is determined by genetic factors. So there would have been some changes to the genetic profile of human beings during that time. So it is possible that was part of the progressive degradation that sin caused on human beings, and specifically on the genetic material that we have.
What I have heard, and which seems very plausible, is that after the flood, flesh was introduced. And the introduction of flesh had a significant impact on the lifespan of human beings.
Yes.
Now, that seems like, as I said, very plausible, because we can see a very drastic change with respect to, so I could understand Adam in Eden and then sin, but between Adam and the flood, there is a number of generations that still lived very long. But once man started eating flesh, it appears that, so I don't know if that had to be, the introduction of flesh had to do something with the microbiome in the gut and the inflammation and its impact on the aging process. That's something that I hear being touted around. What's your reaction?
Well, certainly that association, I've actually made that observation as well. But if a person is vegan from birth, they will not live until they're 900. So there will have to have been some permanent change, which could have actually taken place by the meat. I mean, that is the easiest thing, but it could have also, I mean, I think there probably was some divine intervention as well, curtailing the life of man. As to whether that it was a meat that was used, but I think there was some divine intervention to shorten the life of man because of all the naughty things that we're getting up to, as a result of that long life.
Yes, definitely. Final question. Is there a relationship? Sorry, it says actually, is there a link? Same thing between the gut microbiome balance and dementia? Is there a relationship between the gut microbiome balance and dementia?
And the simple answer to that is a resounding yes. They have found that a number of mental disorders, including things like anxiety, depression, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and other types of dementias, being linked to the gut. And it's rather interesting because oftentimes when a person is having a brain problem, the brain is investigated, but not the gut. Not the gut. Even conditions like seizures, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, all of these conditions, there's a link between the gut and those conditions. So yes, there's a definite link, and it really opens up the good thing about that recognition and that discovery is that it gives an opportunity to intervene in these conditions. Even autism, there's a connection between autism and the gut bacteria as well. So it gives you an opportunity to intervene in these conditions rather than just treating the symptoms, treating the symptoms of depression, treating the symptoms of Alzheimer's. If you can change what's happening in the person's gut, then oftentimes you find that these persons can actually improve. And they have actually found that even with Alzheimer's, so there are some persons who actually show a complete reversal of the symptoms, especially those who have mild to moderate symptoms, by changing their diet and lifestyle. So that is an important thing to know, that you can actually intervene in these things in a definitive way and bring about meaningful change in that person's experience.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Street. It has been a real pleasure talking with you over the last month. And today, as we responded to the many questions, I know that there are even more questions generated from today's discussion, but it's a good bit of information that you have relayed. And as it did for me, it set me on a research path, especially in the area of inflammation. I am so much more knowledgeable about inflammation, and I've shared a lot with others. I've had individuals who have listened to this program just express profound appreciation for opening up their understanding in terms of these very important elements that you have shared. We thank you so much, and we wish you God's blessings as you continue to serve him. And to our viewers, we are grateful. Today it brings us to the end of this series on wellness basics. I'm sure sometime in the future we will have Dr. Street again to discuss something else. But for now, we just want to say thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor. And I hope that this inspires others to follow your example by researching more so that they can learn more about how to improve on their health as well.
God bless you. Until next time.
Blessings to you and your viewers as well.